today's breaking news of AS Bryden acquiring 45% of CPJ. Doreen says AS Bryden bought CPJ from Mayberry Investment. I saw, were there other comments as well? Saw a huge trade on CPJ today. Could you explain? That's Javon asking. So, what's the update? CPJ and AS Bryden.
So that was quite the trade. Like I was doing some work, I logged into JSON, I'm like, wait, it actually happened. Like I just did a big trade. I'm like, wow, the day has come when that acquisition of CPG has taken place. So earlier today, we'd have seen 492.17 million shares of CPJ traded in the market at 1:21 p.m. or 32 trades. That was worth 5.17 billion with a capital B Jamaican dollars or $32.82 million US. So what does this mean? Couple things, right? So first thing is CPJ is now going to become an associate of AS Bryden. And because AS Bryden is a subsidiary of Seprod, CPJ will now in turn become a subsidiary of an associate of Seprod. But the story doesn't end there. AS Bryden intends to acquire more shares in CPJ, subject to the fact that they want to or likely are going to do a mandatory offer or takeover bid for the remaining interest in CPJ. So they
Who
intend
owns
to
the remaining interest? Does CPJ own it? So they acquired 45%. Who owns the other 55%?
so about 30% is still held by Anthony Markhart's holding companies, Sportswear Limited and Wave Trade Limited. Those are two St. Lucian IBCs. And then the remaining interest is held by multiple other shareholders, just like you and me. So on the markets, I can confirm that Onyx Investment Limited, as a company controlled by Tom Taylor, they sold all their shares. Ho Choi Limited sold all their shares. PW Bamboo Holdings Limited, which is Chris Berry's holding company, he sold all his shares. And we also heard that MJE, Mayberry Jamaican Equities Limited, sold all their shares as well. So who are some of the sellers to AS Bryden today, and also Sportswear and the Wave Trading also some of their shares to AS Bryden as well. But the remaining largest shareholder is really Markhart's holding companies at the moment. So
So if they
what's
were to
gonna
try to gain a majority, it would likely be getting Mark Hart himself to sell some of his shares.
it's likely that, well, we're not likely going to be told everything, but it's likely that there's an additional agreement in place for AS Bryden to acquire the remaining interest that Markart has. So for prior deals, for example, Derriman acquiring the majority stake in CFF, the Mexican Discovery Group acquiring the remaining majority stake in Dolphin Cove, there are lockup agreements whereby that party who owns those shares cannot sell to anybody else. They can only sell to the party that they've signed that agreement with at a particular price. And with separate and AS Bryden's agents being on Monday and Tuesday, this being July, 15 and 16, we can ask these questions because if it is that there's a lockup agreement already with Mark Hart's remaining shares, then it's likely that we're going to see AS Bryden have 75% of CPJ within short order. In terms of the company being delisted, that would still come down to what stake AS Bryden has after the takeover bid has been completed. What do I mean by that?
Right, because the
So,
minimum to be listed is 20% has to be listed.
well, it depends, but the way it is expressed is usually at least 100 shareholders should own 20% of the company. So once AS Bryden surpass 80% and there are no other associated separate parties that are questioning CPJ, then CPJ could remain listed on the JSC. But as I said, it all comes down to how that remaining takeover is done. We're not sure about the potential lockup agreements with Markhart's holding companies or other majority CPJ shareholders. But it wouldn't surprise me if they want to take CPJ private and restructure it in a way they see fit. in terms of way forward to grow it into a new business or into a bigger business. Because
Interesting. Very
CPJ,
interesting. And keeping in mind as well that AS Bryden's is a regional company, not just a Jamaican company. They have a regional footprint. Um,
Guyana, Barbados, Trinidad, and now Jamaica.
did we see any impact on the trading prices of Bryden's or CPJ today?
So I was trying to sell some AS Bryden shares today, and luckily I got it sold at 38.99. Pretty good deal for me. Uh, but the price would have gone up today from last check. It was around $39. And with respect to CPJ, it would have gone up today to close at $10.50 per share, which would have been the share price that dominated the day basically. Tomorrow, we're potentially likely going to see some level of increased trading in CPJ and some level of increased trading in AS Bryden. And keynote, tomorrow is the ex-dividend day / record date for AS Bryden's dividend, which is to be paid on July 29. So if you bought AS Bryden shares today, you're going to get the dividend come month end. And fun
Okay.
fact, when the AS Bryden dividend is for a person who have AS Bryden, set up a US dollar mandate so that that dividend goes to your seller bank account. There are companies and JS that pay US dollar dividends, but the JSC has not done a good job in educating persons. So it's by secondary mandate so that US dollar dividends go to your seller bank account are not converted to Jamaican dollars when they hit their bank account directly with their mandate in place. So that's information everybody to appreciate. But one thing I can say, Kalila, the junior market is doing its job as intended. What do you mean by that? It has given a platform for companies to find someone else to take the company forward to a different progressive stage. Because you have all these funded companies, the founders are there, but the kids are not involved in the business, probably don't have an interest in the business. And because the stock market is there and these companies have this exposure from a public standpoint, you have these potential buyers or companies that look in and say, hey, we see value in you to grow you further, just take a majority interest in you and move it to the next stage. So, for example, German acquired CFF, in two different transactions up to 2017. We saw where, it would have been the Mexican Dolphin Discovery Group acquiring that stake in Dolphin Cove. And also, you would have seen GK purchasing a stake in Spur Tree just back in April, an associate stake. And, we know they're likely to acquire more shares in the future. I'm just looking back to see if there are any Jamaican companies I'm forgetting. But you kind of get a picture of Kalila in the sense that the general market has done its job to create that space of companies to have new owners who can step in and say, hey, we can take it over and make the company move forward, and you don't have to be worried. Because that's one thing that a lot of company owners, kind of have issues with, in the sense that when it's time for them to step down, they probably don't find someone who has their kind of tact or tactical structure, or strategy to move the company to the next level. At the same time, it's one thing to be a good leader, it's another thing to have capital. So this, deal, really represents a good talking point of the junior market, which is now 15 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Learn, Grow, Invest commenting, agreed, the role of the junior market. We're going to leave it there for this evening, David. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate all the updates on everything. Finger always on the pulse. Thanks again.
You're welcome, Kalila. Take it easy, everybody.